This call is now being recorded.
Okay, good morning to all. So today we will be discussing about the uh, topics in Module 3 of Constitution of India. So Module 3 is dealing with the Union Executive. So we know that there will be for our country there will be a central executive, that is the Union Executive, and there will be state executive also. So what is this executive? Who all constitute inside this executive? So it is an executive means it is an organ of the government which implements and administers policy, rules and regulations made by the legislature is called the executive. So the legislature is the union or the state legislature is the body which have the power to produce this type of bills or this type of amendments or this type of new regulations or new policies and all. So there should be an administer or some administrative policy through which these type of rules or regulations or policies to be approved by the country or by the state. Okay. So this union executive it is an organ of the government which implements and administers the policy, rules and regulations made by the legislature. Okay. So that is called the union executive or simply executive. So Article 52 to 78 in the part fifth of the Constitution is dealing with the Union Executive. So who all are the members or who all constitute the Union Executive. It consists of the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers, and the Attorney General of India. Okay, so this many people will be included in the Union Executive. So from this, you can expect questions from president. I'm a president in the different roles, different functions of the president, functioning roles of the president, and vice president also. What is how he is elected? What is its what is its qualification? What are the roles of the vice president? Like that, ഓരോരാളതും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് questions expect ചെയ്യാം അല്ലെ? The president of India. The president is the head of the Indian state. He is the first citizen of India and act as the symbol of unity, integrity, and solidarity of the nation. So, how the president is elected? So, we all know that how the election process is taking. A general election is taking place in India. Like, just in the last class, we have discussed how general election is taking in India. But the election of the president or the vice president or the governor or it is taking place in a different manner. It is not as the common people. It's not by voting by the common people. So it is taking place in a different manner. But for this election also, in order to be elected as a president also, a candidate should be eligible. So there are certain criteria to be followed or to be fulfilled in order to elect or in order to eligible for the election as a president. So a person to be eligible for election as president should fulfill the following qualifications. What are the qualifications? First, he should be a citizen of India. He should be an Indian citizen. Okay. He should have completed 35 years of age. Okay. ഈ ഒരു ടോപ്പിക് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ് എലിജിബിലിറ്റി ഫോർ ഇലക്ഷൻ ആസ് പ്രസിഡന്റ്. What are the eligibility of a president എന്നുള്ളത് ഷോർട്ട് ആൻസർ ടൈപ്പ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യാം. He should have completed 35 years of age. He should be qualified for election as a member of the Lok Sabha. He should not hold any office of profit under the union government or any state government or any local authority or any other public authority. ഏതെങ്കിലും ഓഫീസ് ഓഫ് പ്രോഫിറ്റ് പുള്ളിയുടെ പേരിൽ ഉണ്ടാവാൻ വേണ്ടി പാടില്ല. Okay, and also you should be qualified for election as a member of the Lok Sabha. So these are the different qualification or eligibility for election as a president. A sitting president or vice president of the union, the governor of any state, and a minister of the union or any state is not deemed to hold any office of profit and hence qualified as a president candidate. So ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഫ്രഷ് ഒരു ന്യൂ മെമ്പറിന് കാൻഡിഡേറ്റ് ലോക്സഭയിൽ എന്താണ് മെമ്പർഷിപ്പ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതായത് മെമ്പറായിട്ട് ക്വാളിഫൈ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എന്താവാം പ്രസിഡന്റ് ആയിട്ട് എലക്ട് ചെയ്യാം അല്ലെ. ഓൾസോ അതുകൂടാണ് ഓൾറെഡി സിറ്റിംഗ് പ്രസിഡന്റ് ഓൾസോ ക്യാൻ ബി റീ എലക്ടഡ് ആസ് എ പ്രസിഡന്റ്. A sitting president or a sitting vice president of the union or the governor of any state or the minister of the union If these people they are not holding any office of profit, then they will be qualified for the presidential candidate. Okay. Further, the nomination of a candidate for election to the office of president must be subscribed by at least 50 electors as proposers and 50 electors as seconders. സോ ഈ നോമിനേഷൻ കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ് അതിനെന്ത് വേണം? വേറെ 50 എലക്ടേഴ്സും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിന് പ്രപ്പോസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാർ വേണം, സജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാർ വേണം, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിനെന്താണ് സെക്കൻഡേഴ്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതിനെ പിന്താങ്ങുന്ന കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാർ വേണം. ഓക്കെ. So every candidate has to make a security deposit of rupees 15,000 in the Reserve Bank of India. So അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സെക്യൂരിറ്റി ഡെപ്പോസിറ്റ് കൊടുക്കണം. എന്തിനാണ്? The security deposit it is liable to be forfeited in case the candidate fails to secure 1/6 of the votes polled. So minimum vote, if he is not getting the minimum vote, then this amount to be forfeited. Okay, this amount to be forfeited. So only it will be it will be forfeited if he is not securing the 1/6 of the votes polled. 1/6 of the votes polled കിട്ടിയിരിക്കണം. The president is elected not directly by the people, but by the member of electoral college consisting of. Okay, so it is not like a general election pattern. The election of the president is not through a general election pattern as how we are electing the prime minister of the country. Okay, the election of president is in a different manner. It is not elected directly by the people, but it is by the members of the electoral college. So who all consist the members of the electoral college? So who all are coming under this electoral college? That is first one is the elected members of both the house of the parliament, both the upper and lower house of the parliament. ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്? Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The elected members of the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. The elected members of the legislative assemblies of the states. State legislative assembly members, elected members. The elected members of the legislative assemblies of the union territories of Delhi and Puducherry. So only 2 union territories are having these legislative members, elected legislative members. So they are also having the right to poll the votes. The value of the vote of an MLA, that is a member of the legislative assembly, participated in the presidential election is determined as follows. So there is a voting share or voting proportion made for MLAs and MP. That is different for both the cases. The value of vote of an MLA will be equal to total population of the state upon total number of elected members in the state legislative assembly into 1/1000. So it will always depends upon the number of population, number of elected members and all. Okay, so this is the formula to find out the vote share from each state or vote share per MLA. That also it will be different for different states. Then the value of the vote of the member of parliament MP participated in the presidential election is determined as follows. So what is the equation for that? The value of the vote share of an MP will be equal to the total value of votes of all MLA of all states together upon total number of elected members of the parliament. Okay, so the parliament member vote share will be equal for everyone because it is counted on the basis of the total value of votes of all MLAs of all the states. Okay, divided by the total number of elected members of the parliament. So the voting value of an MLA will be different from an MP. And also the voting value of MLA or MLAs of different states will be different also. Okay. The president's election is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable votes. So that is the system of voting done here, how the voting system is going on, or how the voting share is coming. It's based on the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. And the voting is by secret ballot only. So this system ensures that successful candidate is returned by the absolute majority of votes. So a candidate, in order to be declared elected to the office of the president, must secure a fixed quota of votes. So there is a procedure how this election or the voting is done. The quota vote is determined by dividing the total number of valid votes polled by dividing the number of candidates to be elected. So here only one candidate is to be elected as the president. So that plus be added to, that is that plus 1 and adding 1 to the quotient. The formula can be expressed as electoral quota will be equal to total number of valid votes polled divided by 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. That all together plus 1. So that is an equation developed to find out the electoral quota. അപ്പോൾ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു സിസ്റ്റം, അതായത് സിസ്റ്റം ഓഫ് പ്രൊപ്പോർഷണൽ റെപ്രസെൻറ്റേഷൻ ബൈ മീൻസ് ഓഫ് സിംഗിൾ ട്രാൻസ്ഫർ വോട്ട് ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് അവിടെ എലക്ഷൻ നടക്കുന്നത്, പ്രസിഡൻഷ്യൽ എലക്ഷൻസ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അറിയാത്ത ഒരു ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് വോട്ട് ഷെയറിംഗ് കാൽക്കുലേഷൻ ആണ് അവിടെ വരുന്നത്. അല്ല, നമ്മൾ ജനറൽ ഇലക്ഷനിൽ മാത്രമേ നമ്മൾ പങ്കെടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അറിയാത്ത രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു വോട്ട് ഷെയറിംഗ് ഒരു പോളിസി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സിസ്റ്റമാണ് അവിടെ ഉള്ളത്. സോ ഇൻ ബിറ്റ്വീൻ ദി വോട്ടിംഗ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾ, so that procedure already നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തതാണ് ഈ പ്രൊസീജിയർ. that procedure will be continued till a candidate secures the required quota of votes. So if there is any doubt or any disputes happening in connection with the election of the president, that will be decided by the, or that will be taken to the hands of the Supreme Court, and the decision of the Supreme Court will be the final decision. Okay, അപ്പോൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഡിസിഷൻ, എന്തെങ്കിലും ഡിസ്പ്യൂട്ട്സ് വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ബി ടേക്കൺ അപ്പോൺ ബൈ ദി സുപ്രീം കോർട്ട് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ, ആൻഡ് ദ ഡിസിഷൻ ഓഫ് ദ സുപ്രീം കോർട്ട് വിൽ ബി ദ ഫൈനൽ ഡിസിഷൻ. So before entering to the seat of to the house of the president, there is an affirmation which should be made, or an oath which should be made by the candidate. Okay, so before entering into his office, the president has to make and subscribe to an oath. അല്ലെ, അത് എന്തൊക്കെയാണ്? The president should swear to faithfully execute the office, to preserve, protect and defend the constitution and the law, to devote himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. So ഇതാണ് ഈ പറയുന്ന പ്രസിഡന്റ് അല്ലെ ചെയ്യേണ്ട ഒരു affirmation അല്ലെ. The oath of the office to the president is administered by the, it will be administered, അപ്പോൾ ഇതിനെ അഡ്മിനിസ്റ്റർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആരായിരിക്കും? ചീഫ് ജസ്റ്റിസ് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ. And in his absence, if he is not present on that day, a senior most judge of the Supreme Court who is available on that day will be administering this process. അല്ലെ, ഈ affirmation അല്ലെങ്കിൽ oath swearing process. So any other person acting as president or discharging the function of the president also undertakes a similar oath. Okay, അപ്പോൾ ഓൾറെഡി ആക്ടിംഗ് പ്രസിഡന്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഇരിക്കുന്ന ആളോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഡിസ്ചാർജിങ് ഫംഗ്ഷൻ ഡിസ്ചാർജിങ് ആയിട്ട് വരുന്ന ഒരാളോ ഇതേപോലത്തെ ഒരു സിമിലർ ഓത്ത് അഫർമേഷൻ ചെയ്യേണ്ടതാണ്. Then terms or duration of the president's office. What is the term of the president's office? നമുക്കറിയാം, the term of the president's office is 5 years. അല്ലെ, the president holds office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters upon his office. 5 year ആണ് അതിന്റെ ഒരു ടെനർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അല്ലെ. However, he can resign from his office at any time by addressing the resignation letter to the vice president. So if a president need to resign from his position, from his office, to whom he need to give the resignation letter? He need to give the resignation letter to the vice president. Okay, and that is the case if he want to resign from the position, but he can also be removed from the office before the completion of his term. By that is called a process called impeachment. Important ആണ് impeachment എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് ചോദിക്കാം ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആയിട്ട്. Further, the president can be removed from the office before the completion of his term by the process of impeachment. അപ്പോൾ ഇതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യാം. What are the different ways by which a president can be removed from his office? Okay, അപ്പോൾ റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഇംപീച്ച്മെന്റിൽ കൂടെ മാത്രമാണ്, ബട്ട് he can also resign by himself by giving a resignation letter to the vice president. The president can hold office beyond his term of 5 years until his successor assumes charges. That is also possible. Even though after 5 years, after the new election, the new president, sometimes it may take some long time in order for the election process due to any type of circumstances. In that cases, even after the 5 years also, the existing president can hold the office. Okay, that is, the president can hold office beyond his term of 5 years until his successor assumes charges. Okay, and also he can be elected for any number of times. So ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ഇതുവരെ അതുപോലെ സെയിം പ്രസിഡന്റ് തന്നെ വീണ്ടും എലക്ട് ചെയ്ത് വന്നിട്ടില്ല, ബട്ട് it is possible for the presidential election the same president can be elected any number of times. Then impeachment of the president, important ആണ്. You can expect a question in the university exam. The president can be removed from the office by a process of impeachment for violation of the constitution. So this process of impeachment can be done if there found any violation of the constitution. The impeachment charges can be initiated by either house of the parliament. These charges should be signed by one-fourth members of the house, and a 14 days notice should be given to the president. After the impeachment resolution is passed by a majority of two-thirds of the total membership of that house, it is sent to other houses, which should investigate the charges. ഇപ്പോൾ ഏത് ഹൗസിൽ നിന്നാണോ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ഇത് ഈ ഇംപീച്ച്മെന്റ് ചാർജസ് അലിഗേഷൻസ് അത് ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റ് ചെയ്തത് ഏത് ഹൗസിൽ നിന്ന് വേണം സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം. So that he should get to one-fourth members of the house should sign in that, and 14-day notice should be given to the president for that. So after the impeachment resolution passed by a majority of two-thirds of the total membership of that house, it should be sent to the other house. ഇപ്പോൾ upper house ആണെങ്കിൽ lower houseലേക്കും, lower house ആണെങ്കിൽ upper houseലേക്ക് സെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാം അല്ലെ. Why? In order to investigate the charges. Okay. The president has the right to appear and to be represented at such investigation. If the other house also sustains the charges and passes the impeachment resolution by a majority of two-thirds of the total membership, then the president stands removed from his office from the date on which the resolution is so passed. So, if the resolution passed by either of the houses with a majority as mentioned, and after that it has to be sent to the other house for their representation, for their investigation, and if they also found the charges sustains there, then they can pass the impeachment resolution by a majority of two-thirds of the total membership in that house. After that, the resolution can be passed. Then the president stands removed from his office. And also in India, so far no president has been removed by impeachment. Okay. No president has so far been impeached. Powers and functions of the president are very important. Powers and functions of the president. There are different powers like executive powers, legislative powers, then financial powers, then judicial powers, diplomatic powers, military powers, and emergency powers. So ഈ 7 പവേഴ്സിന്റെയും ഹെഡിങ് ഓർഡർ ബൈഹാർട്ട് കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പഠിക്കാം. ബൈഹാർട്ട് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. ഇത്രയും പവേഴ്സ് ആണുള്ളത്. Even you may get questions separately like what are the list in the important executive powers of the president, list important legislative powers of the president. അങ്ങനെ വരാം. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ totally essay type question ആയിട്ട് you may get a question like powers and functions of the president. നിങ്ങൾ important points മാത്രം എഴുതി ചുരുക്കി എഴുതുക. Okay. So first one is executive powers. The executive powers and functions of the president are എന്തൊക്കെ വരും? All executive actions of the government of India are formally taken in his name. Okay. So the first person of the country in the representing the president. So all the executive action, he is the head of the executive. All executive actions of the government of India are formally taken in the name of the president. Okay. He can make rules for more convenient transaction of business of the union government and for allocation of the said business among the ministers. He appoints the prime minister and other ministers in the union. He appoints chief election commissioner and other election commissioners, the chairman of the UPSC, the auditor general of India, the attorney general of India, the governors of the states, the chairman and members of finance commission, and so on. So these all appointments coming under the functions or the powers of the president. The president is the one who is representing the country, and he is the one who is representing the formally representing all the executive actions in the union, and also he is having the power to make rules for convenient transaction of business in the union government. And also he has having the power to appoint prime minister and other ministers. All the power. He is the one who is appointing the governors of each state, all the states, the chief election commissioner, the chairman of UPSC, അതുപോലെ auditor general, attorney general, എല്ലാവരും elect ചെയ്യുന്ന powers ആയിരിക്കും president. So these are all the different executive powers of the president. And also he can seek any information relating to the administration of the affairs of the union and proposals for legislation from the prime minister. So at any time he can ask for the proposal for legislation from the principal, or he can seek any information relating to the administration of affairs of the union from the prime minister. He can appoint a commission to investigate into the conditions of SCs and STs and other backward classes. He can appoint an interstate council to promote center-state and interstate cooperation. He directly administers the union territories through administrators appointed by him. That we know that in union territories like different uh, ലക്ഷദ്വീപ് ആയാലും നമുക്കറിയാം എന്താണ് they all are administered by the administrators അല്ലേ നമുക്കറിയാം administrators are the main or the chief executive of the union territories. So these administrators means there will be governors, the powers the powers they will be having the power of a governor അല്ലെ സ്റ്റേറ്റിൽ ഗവർണർ എന്താണോ സെയിം ആണ് അവിടെയുള്ള ഈ പറഞ്ഞ administrators. So there will be directly a member, a representative of the president. That is, they will be elected by the president. In otherwise, these union territories will be controlled by the president through his agents. So these type of these administrators will be acting as agent of the president. And also he can declare any area as scheduled area and has power with respect to the administration of scheduled areas and tribal areas. So regarding this minority related issues and all, he is having direct powers to issue orders. Then comes the legislative powers. What are the different legislative powers of the President of India? The President is an integral part of the Parliament and enjoys the following legislative powers. He can summon or prorogue the Parliament and dissolve Lok Sabha. അല്ലെ അപ്പൊ തുടങ്ങാനും പറ്റും അത് എൻഡേക്കാനും പറ്റും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് മാറ്റിവെക്കാനും പറ്റും അല്ലെ he can also summon a joint sitting of both the houses of parliament which is presided over by the speaker of the Lok Sabha. He can address the parliament at the commencement of the first session after each general election and the first session of each year. So that we all know that after each election after each general election for the first meeting the president will be addressing the parliament, and also for the first session of each year also he will be addressing the parliament. He can appoint any member. In the case of state legislative assemblies, it will be governor. The governor will be doing the similar job as a president in the case of states. Okay. He can appoint any members of the Lok Sabha to preside over its proceedings when the offices of both the speaker and the deputy speaker fall vacant. So the president is the one who can appoint a member from the Lok Sabha in order to preside over the proceedings in the Lok Sabha if the speaker and deputy speaker seats are vacant. Similarly, he can also appoint any member of the Rajya Sabha to preside over its proceedings when the offices of both the chairman and the deputy chairman are vacant. Same നമുക്ക് രാജ്യസഭയിലും ഇതുപോലെ elect ചെയ്യാൻ ആർക്ക് അധികാരമുണ്ട് president has the power. He nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from amongst persons having special knowledge or practical experience in literature, science, art and social service. So other than the elected members to the to the Rajya Sabha, the president has the power to nominate 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from among the persons having special knowledge or practical experience in literature, science, art and social services. Okay. He can nominate 2 members to the Lok Sabha from the Anglo-Indian community also. But 12 nominated members this type of persons having special knowledge like or special practical experience in literature, science, art and social services. And also he can elect 2 members to the Lok Sabha from Anglo-Indian community. And also he decides on questions as to disqualifications of members of the parliament in consultation with the election commission. So a member of parliament disqualification related the decision president is the one who will take the decision after consultation with the election commission. His prior permission is needed to introduce certain types of bills in the parliament. That we all know that in the case of this union parliament, in the case of parliament, some special permission is needed for some special type of bills. President permission is needed. Similarly, in the case of legislative assembly, the permission of the governor is required. Okay. Especially the bill involving expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India, or a bill for the alteration of the boundary of the state or creation of a new state. So such a type of bill, a bill or issued from the any of the houses or approved by both the houses need the assent or the consent from the uh, president. That means prior permission has to be taken. That's what you are telling. Prior permission has to be taken before passing such bills into in the houses, in either of the houses. When a bill is sent to the president after it has been passed by the parliament, after passing any type of bill, see, in the case of special bills like bills involving expenditure or bill of alteration of boundary of state or creation new state, prior permission is need to be seeked from the president. But in case of other type of general bills, if the bill is sent to the president, that will, if the bill will be sent to the president, then it should be known that it has been passed by the parliament, by either of the houses. So if once such a bill is sent to the president, what can he do? He can give assent to the bill. Either he can give approve the bill, or he can give assent to the bill, or he can refuse to give his assent to the bill, or he can return the bill for consideration of the parliament. So these are the three things he can do. Whatever things he do, if the bill is passed again by the parliament, if he is returning the bill, and if the bill is again passed by the parliament, with or without the amendments, the president has to give his assent to the bill. Okay. The president first thing is he can give assent to the bill. Okay, if he found it is correct and it is not going to affect the any other matters of the state or the country, then he will be giving assent to the bill, or he can refuse the bill to give assent to the bill, and he can return the bill for the consideration of parliament for the amendment of that, because he may find out some other issues in that bill, so he may return the bill to amend it and to change it and resend it. Okay, so whatever he has done, the parliament can amend it, or without amend it, they can pass the bill once again, and at that time the president will be forced to give his assent to the bill. Okay. So finally, what happens? Whatever bill is passed in the parliament, it will be passed to the public. Okay. He can promulgate ordinance when the parliament is not in session. Okay. So ordinance പുറപ്പെടുവിക്കാനുള്ള power ആയിരിക്കും president. These ordinance must be approved by the parliament within 6 weeks from its reassembly. So once the parliament reassembled, it should be approved by the parliament within 6 weeks. He can also withdraw an ordinance at any time. So anytime ഒരു ordinance withdraw ചെയ്യാനുള്ള power ഉണ്ട്. He places the reports of the comptroller and auditor general, Union Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, and other before the parliament. He can make regulations for the peace, progress, and good government of certain union territories. So there can different legislative powers of the president. So he is having different executive powers in executive matters, and he is having different legislative powers in legislative matters. And here comes the different financial powers of the president. So what are the different financial powers? One is financial, means it is relating to expenditure, money and all, money bills and all. So money bills can be introduced in the parliament only with his prior recommendations. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു നേരത്തെ നമ്മൾ നോക്കിയല്ലോ certain types of bill like money bills or changing the area or the formation of new states. Such bills before passing in the houses, it should be get prior permission from the or prior recommendation from the president. So money bills can be introduced in the parliament only with the prior recommendation of the president. He causes to be laid before the parliament the union budget. No demand for a grant can be made except on his recommendation. He can make advances out of the contingency fund of India to meet any unforeseen expenditure. So there is a contingency fund of India. The president is the one who is having the power to take advances from this deposit, this fund, in order to meet any type of unforeseen expenditure. He constitute a finance commission after every 5 years to recommend the distribution of revenues between the centers and the states. There will be a finance commission. operating in the country, and it will be reconstituted for every 5 years. Then comes the judicial powers of the president. What are the different judicial powers of the president? So we know that the judiciary means it is nothing but the main judiciary of the country is the Supreme Court of India, and comes the High Court as the other secondary courts. The judicial powers and functions of the president are: he appoints the Chief Justice and the judges of Supreme Court and High Courts. Okay, so he is the one who is having the power or the right to appoint the Chief Justice and the judges of Supreme Court and High Courts. He can seek advice from the Supreme Court on any question of law or fact. Okay. ഇപ്പോൾ രാജ്യത്തെ സംബന്ധിച്ച് എന്ത് നിയമപരമായ അഡ്വൈസും സുപ്രീം കോർട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് സ്വീകരിക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു അധികാരം ആയിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് പ്രസിഡന്റിനുണ്ട്. However, the advice tendered by the Supreme Court is not binding on the president. He can grant pardon, relief and reduction of punishment, or suspend, stop or substitute the sentence of any person convicted of any offense. So that the ultimate judicial power ആണ് പ്രസിഡന്റിനില്ല അല്ലേ. ഈ പറയുന്ന പണിഷ്മെന്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സസ്പെൻഷൻ കിട്ടിയ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതുപോലത്തെ കൺവിക്റ്റഡ് അല്ലെ സെന്റൻസ് ഏതൊരു ഒഫൻസിലും കൺവിക്റ്റ് ആയ ഒരാളെ അത് സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള അധികാരമായിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് പ്രസിഡന്റിനുണ്ട്. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് ദി ultimate judicial power. Then diplomatic powers. The international treaties and agreements are negotiated and concluded on behalf of the president. However, they are subjected to the approval of the parliament. And also he represents India in international forums and affairs, and sends and receives diplomats like ambassadors, high commissioners and so on. അതൊക്കെയാണ് ഡിപ്ലോമാറ്റിക് പവേഴ്സിൽ വരുന്നത് അല്ലെ. ഈ ഫോറിൻ മാറ്റേഴ്സിലും അതുപോലെ ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ട്രീറ്റീസ് ആൻഡ് അഗ്രിമെന്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയ കാര്യത്തിൽ ആണ് ഈ റോൾ വരുന്നത്. ദെൻ മിലിറ്ററി പവേഴ്സ്. ഹി ഈസ് ദ സുപ്രീം കമാൻഡർ ഓഫ് ദ ഡിഫൻസ് ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ. എല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയുന്നതാണ് അല്ലെ. പ്രസിഡന്റ് ഈസ് ദ സുപ്രീം കമാൻഡർ ഓഫ് ദി ഡിഫൻസ് ഫോഴ്സസ് ഓഫ് ഇന്ത്യ. ഇൻ ദാറ്റ് കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഹി അപ്പോയിന്റ്സ് ദ ചീഫ്സ് ഓഫ് ദ ആർമി, ദ നാവി ആൻഡ് ദ എയർഫോഴ്സ്. നാവൽ, ആർമി, എയർഫോഴ്സ് ചീഫ്സിനൊക്കെ ആരാണ് അപ്പോയിന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? പ്രസിഡന്റ് ആണ്. ഹി ക്യാൻ ഡിക്ലെയർ വാർ ഓർ കൺക്ലൂഡ് പീസ് subject to the approval of the parliament. With the approval of the parliament, he is having the power to declare war or conclude peace. Okay, that comes in his military power. And finally, the emergency powers. There are different emergency powers. In addition to the normal powers mentioned above, the Constitution grants extraordinary powers on the president to deal with the following three types of emergencies. What are the three types of emergency? National emergency. ഏതെങ്കിലും രീതിയിൽ national emergency വരികയാണെങ്കിൽ ഡിക്ലെയർ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ he will be getting the additional powers. Okay, that is the Constitution is granting him extraordinary powers. That is granting president extraordinary powers to deal with the situation of national emergency and the president's rule or financial emergency. Okay. അപ്പോൾ ഇത്തരത്തിൽ കേസിൽ എമർജൻസി പവേഴ്സ് ആയിരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് പ്രസിഡന്റിനുണ്ട്. ഇത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ഇന്നത്തെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ വരുന്നത്.